Peace, family. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Master Force with Mu Shemsu-t. And I am still just as excited as I was last week when we were speaking with Brother G about Afromance. So we're going to begin a second segment, and it's going to go a little bit deeper, and it's the kind of depth that we actually require right now for our families, our relationships, our children, most of all. So I would really suggest that you get pen and paper ready because this is going to be really a deep dive into not only relationships, but also our original existence, where we come from, and why are we here in the first place. All right, so let's bring Brother G back on the stage.
Greetings,
Hello,
everybody.
hello.
Hey there. Nice to be back again.
Yes, thank you, thank you. You know, every time I delve into something that you send me to read, I mean, and this goes back what many years, a few decades, at least a
Hey,
couple of decades.
don't bring up the decades. we getting away with this looking young thing. You giving it away now.
I know, right? What is she talking about? But
A few years, just a few years, maybe about a dozen years. That's all.
A half dozen, even maybe, right?
We'll
But
trying.
when I start looking at this stuff, Brother G, it just really inspires me. First of all, who has time to actually appreciate and study this type of information, and yet it's required so that we can move forward with our families, right? And our community, you know. So I just want to thank you for coming back again and letting us participate with you. So, in our last session, we talked about the shades of Memnon. So if you guys missed that, please check that out. And but this time we want to get more into Afromance, right? And more of what that is. So let's start here with you telling us about this. What is Afromance?
Afromance is a decoding. It's a decoding of life ways and symbolism and things that we feel and go through every day, but we don't quite know what it is. We don't know how powerful it is. And furthermore, we don't know what our ancestors knew about those things and how they use it. That Ankh right there is the centerpiece of everything. That Ankh is not just a symbol. Most people, they think it's just something that somebody created to wear, or a symbol on the wall or something like that. But that's not what it is. The Ankh is a symbol for something real, and it's a symbol for chemical signals that the human body give off, particularly the Black human body. And that's what makes all the difference here with this. Most people have heard about animals having pheromones. There are these little smells that they give off, and one animal might pee on a bush or something like that. Then another animal come up and smell the bush and say, "Oh, you can smell how big the animal was that peed there, what type of animal it was, how old it was, and if it's a bigger, stronger animal than him, well, like a bear, he says, okay, I'm not going in this territory. I don't even have to see the bear.
The scent will tell me turn around, predator.
It tells you to turn around. And most people don't understand that humans have pheromones too.
Yes.
We have pheromones also. And the pheromones operate in an extraordinary way that our ancestors knew very well what these chemical signals were. And here's the kicker about this, y'all. Chemical signals work with us the same way they work with other animals. It is a pre-conscious, a pre-social, a precognitive signal that has extraordinary meaning to you. And if you know how to manipulate those signals, if you know how to apply those signals, you can make a world of difference. This is the reason why with the Kemetic symbols and all the on the walls and everything, you always see the deities, what they call the gods, but we call them the Neteru. You always see them with the Ankh, putting the Ankh. They carry the Ankh. There's 3 places where you see the Ankh. They carry them by their side, hanging by their waist. And when they're sitting down, the Ankh is in their lap. Ankh is in their lap when they're sitting down. And the third way, which is the most, the way you see it most, you see one of those guys offering the Ankh to the nose of a human being, but particularly the king. That they were offering it to, because these chemical signals, they give you the signal for human beings. This is so mind-blowing when I found out about this. But the greatest things that chemical signals do for human beings is to inform you with these chemical signals so that you can act more humane. That is the biggest thing. And it's tied into how people how we mate. The surefire way to see how any type of animal or creature, what the essence is how they mate and how they raise their young. That tells you that gives you the baseline about what type of creature it is that you're looking at, and what do they do? How do they go about the mating? And how does that result in young? So these chemical signals are tied to our reproductive systems, right? There's 3 of them, very extraordinary. One of them is called estrotestosterone, and estrotestosterone, very, very interestingly, it comes from women, all right? It comes from women, and it goes through their body odor system. They call it the apocrine glands. The human beings, we have 2 type of glands that give off liquid sweat type material. One is the eccrine gland. That's to keep people cool you off and get the salt out of your body and all that kind of stuff. Then there's the apocrine glands, and that's where these chemical signals come out. And they have to do with your sexuality, because the apocrine glands, they turn on at puberty. This is one of the great secrets that's right there on everybody's human body that they don't tell us. The apocrine glands are for the purpose of successful mating. And with human beings, successful mating means non-violent and pro-social sexuality. Just like I have right there on the cover, it says our pro-social sexuality origins. Why do you have to have pro-social sexuality as a creature like what we are? Because other creatures like us in the primate family, they don't have pro-social sexuality. They have violent sexuality. One of the things that they never bring up with zoos and telling people what how these animals act. Most of the primates, the gorillas, the chimpanzees, the baboons, creatures like that, they're extraordinarily violently. Their sexuality is very, very violent. The males dominate the females, and they beat and they kill other males for access to sex with the females. That's not the worst part. The worst part is when an alpha male takes over and he defeats the other alpha male. All right, he tries his best to kill him, but if he can't kill him, he'll try to run him off. First thing he'll do is he'll grab the babies of the alpha male that he just killed, and he will kill them. I don't care how many of them there are. The females have to endure having their babies snatched out of their arms and dashed against a tree or bitten to death, get their throats torn out, all these kind of terrible things. And this is to make the females go into estrus, get back to where they can mate, so they can mate with him. So that's one way that this is very horrible to mate. This is what I said. Remember, I said the way you mate has everything to do as whatever creature you are with how you raise your babies, your relationship with the babies. Now, here's something that's quite true, quite prevalent, but they don't like to bring this up. I'm bringing up everything. the females also kill babies. And let me tell you why. It is very common in the lower ape world, the primate world, chimpanzees, gorillas, for females to be foraging, getting food for them and their babies.
Yeah.
When the food starts running low, quite often a female ape will try to kill the baby of another female, even though she has a baby clinging to her back. She'll try to kill that other baby in order for her baby to get more food. They kill female in the ape world, kill for resources. They fight other females for resources, and they kill babies for resources, where the males kill for lineage. So our chemical signals, the estrotestosterone, there's another chemical signal that comes from men that goes to women. It's called androstenone. All right. Those chemical signals are designed to make us not do that. In other words, the chemical signals that come from a man that goes towards a woman, nobody has put this together except for me in the Afromance book. Even scientists have not put this together. They have not been able to figure out, because they weren't looking at us, the original people, who we are and how we might be connected to,
nature,
to nature and how we evolve.
That's now, right.
Here's the interesting thing. What was very curious to me, when I found out about the androstenone, I found out that the androstenone, when women smell, they inhale the fumes of this androstenone that comes from the underarms, the groin, a couple other parts of the male body. And what it does, it makes them feel calm, and even more importantly, it makes them very generous. Now, tie that back to what we just discussed about when the females, when the food start getting low, that's when they fight. They fight over resources, and they fight and they kill over resources. Now, why do I say they kill over resources? They will kill another female if the female puts up a big enough fight against her for trying to kill her baby.
Yes.
Right. So we come from a lineage way, 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 way back, way back. Human beings were creatures similar to this. We were creatures, we come from primates that were similar to this. And so we had to, in order to be human, we had to have chemical signals that are pre-conscious, pre-language, pre-cognitive, to get us to act right, to get us to not kill our babies and not fight over resources, particularly in the female realm, right? To this very day, in the primate world now, the females are very sneaky with the way that they go about this. They don't have the muscles and the big aggression that the males have, so they tend to be very sneaky, like pushing people off of branches,
off a cliff, right?
Yeah, they tend to be very slick about the way that they do their violence. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, some of y'all might equate this to some women that we're not going to talk about that. All right. But do you understand what I'm getting at here? Okay. So when the males smell the estrotestosterone that comes from the underarms and the groin and the bodily fluids of women, estrotestosterone makes a man calm. And then get this, it makes them horny. It makes them more prone for mating. But the scientists are scratching their head about this, because no other animal is like this. When a male human smells estrotestosterone, he gets in a mating mood, but he gets in a Barry White mood. Right? Okay.
Not Barry White.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes. He gets into a sweet talking mood. He gets into a I'm gonna take care of you mood. He gets into a mood where he's trying to convince the female, not with violence, that you should come and be with me, baby. All right. So it is a estrotestosterone. Now I want all women to really listen to this. Estrotestosterone is an anti-rape pheromone. It is an anti-rape pheromone. When men smell estrotestosterone, it tells them not to react violently with their sexuality. Why? Because the ape prototype, where we came from, acted violently with its sexuality. And in order for us to be humans, we have to cut that out. So the other reason why, there's two other things that the estrogen does to men. It makes men creative in a way that will be beneficial to the community and not just to themselves. How do we know this? Everything that I'm telling you about, it's in my book. I have the scientific research in the book where they actually did research where they put these smells underneath people's noses, right? Men and women, and they gave them these psychological tests. For anybody that's, been in study psychology and stuff like that, you do these greed tests and you give altruism tests and stuff like that. And so they put the resources to be creative in the hands of men. And they told them, okay, now we want you to be creative where it's going to help this lady in the society, these kids over there, or you're going to be creative where it's going to get you paid. All right. When they gave them that choice with the estrogen breathing, they were more prone to do something creative to benefit the community. The third thing that estrogen does, it makes men want to get along with other men. Now, roll back now, what I said about the apes. Mm-hmm. When they want to mate, the first thing they do is start fighting the other males. They go toe to toe to rip their throats out so they can get access. So estrogen comes from a female, and it's designed to make a male human not act that way. And the third one is maybe the most astounding one. The third chemical signal is called hexadecanol. They call it hex, H-E-X. And hexadecanol, everybody carries hexadecanol all throughout your body, particularly the Black human body. But miraculously, the place where hexadecanol is most pronounced and most expressed is on the scalps of newborn babies. And what does hexadecanol do? This is mind-blowing science, y'all. They just found this. They just confirmed this like 5 years ago. When a male human smells hexadecanol, it makes his testosterone and aggression go down. Let's roll this back, y'all. In the ape world, when the ape world, they want to kill babies that's not theirs. Hexadecanol makes a human male want, no matter whose baby it is, when he smells the baby, it makes the human's male's aggression tendencies go down. And not only that, this is where hexadecanol is very interesting. The scientists are wondering, like, why does it have, why do these chemical signals have these different effects on different, men and women? Why is that? Well, it's to make us mate like civilized people. That's what it's for. Now, hexadecanol has another effect on women. It makes women, when they get around babies, it makes them protective of the baby, no matter whose baby it is. Mm-hmm. It makes them protective. So it makes the man back off. For instance, if a man is suspecting, like, I don't know, if this baby might not be mine, he might be kind of mad at the baby, right? Because he figured out, okay, let me count back. She got pregnant this time. I was out of town there. Okay, so now I'm pretty much figuring that guy that I saw her talking to, the mailman, whatever, I'm pretty much figuring that that's his baby. And so so it's designed to make the male not want to harm the baby, no matter who's the father. And it's also designed to make the females not get treacherous with another woman's baby like other apes do for resources.
So I can't help but in my mind thinking, how are we so far away from this now? How are we? Because our children, I was just reading something the other day where a group of children just tore up downtown Chicago.
Yes, they're doing it all over the place.
All over the place.
We used to live close to each other where we smelled all these chemical signals. The chemical signals don't work if you're not together. And I'm not saying just saying hi on the street. You have to be together. You have to be in church together. You have to be gathered together. You have to be in ritual together. You have to dance together. You have to be together the way that we have traditionally been together from time immemorial until we got to these days. Y'all remember now, particularly the way African Americans always lived up until recent times, right? Mu Shemsu-t, you and I are old enough. We won't talk about how old we are, but we're old enough to remember them low light dances in somebody's basement.
Man, yeah, the red light, yeah.
We are old enough to remember those things. Those things were extraordinarily crucial in order to, from teenage years. Now, understand what we're talking about. This has to happen as soon as you get to the point where you have the capabilities of bringing children into the world. You must mix these chemo signals together. They must come together for you to develop. We're incomplete human beings, right? We're incomplete human beings. A male human is incomplete without smelling estrotestosterone. Let me get a little bit deeper about estrotestosterone so everybody will really understand how important this is. The AND, the androstenone, it is a derivative of testosterone, comes from men, right? And when a woman breathes in the androstenone, it has several extraordinary effects on her. If you are a young lady and you're getting to the point where you're about to get your menses, when you smell androstenone, it can make you have healthy, regular menses, right? It's a jump starter for your menses, a jump starter, right? If you are a woman and you're getting irregular periods, if there's things going on with female problems, smelling androstenone can help to alleviate that. What I'm trying to tell you all is that we are incomplete without these chemical signals coming from our complementary counterpart of the other gender. Now, here's the miraculous part. When women breathe in androstenone, the androstenone goes into their bloodstream and it gets absorbed by a woman's ovaries. I'm telling you how estrotestosterone is created.
Oh, wow.
The androstenone goes into a factory that's inside of a woman's ovaries. What else is inside of a woman's ovaries? Your estrogen. The androstenone that comes from a man mixes with the estrogen that comes from a woman and creates a whole new chemical compound called estrotestosterone. Estrotestosterone has only one reason for being. It has no effect on women, none. It only has effects on men to make men civilized. That's the only effect that it has. The only effect. That's what it's designed for. And you cannot make estrotestosterone unless you have access to androstenone.
Oh my goodness.
Right? You cannot effectively make androstenone. I'll put it this way. Women also make testosterone, and they do make some androstenone. But if you you have plenty of places inside your own female body where you need that, right? You need that androstenone. So in order to make healthy estrotestosterone, you need to have excess androstenone that you get from men. You have to get that from men. You can't make it in the lab. You can't wish it to occur in your body at the points where you. So this is the reason why, Moot, in tribes that live right now in Africa, right? They start having babies in their teens. They don't wait. They start the mating pattern 13, 14 years old, right? They start having sex at that point. Why? Because guess what? Once these chemical signals flow, imagine it like a figure eight, right? Imagine if the chemical signals like a figure eight. Once these chemical signals flow, not only do they make you act right, they make you act like a civilized human being, okay? Not only that, but it greatly strengthens your whole reproductive system, which makes you have healthy babies. I'm going to say something now that's going to break some people's hearts, but you got to hear what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you have to take fertility drugs, if you with your mate and you keep on going to the doctor and you got to go through all this, and you get the baby placed and get the sperm placed and all this kind of stuff like that, evolutionarily, that says you should not be having a baby with that person. It says you should not be having a baby with that person. Through evolution, cryptic female choice. That's the other part of this is cryptic female choice. That is the ability that women have to do inside of their bodies what the males apes would do outside. The male apes would fight each other and kill the babies. Well, inside of a woman, she takes in sperm from different males and she makes a choice. This is miraculous, y'all. This is as miraculous as the chemical signals. The inside of a woman's body is designed to peacefully root out the violent males, the horrible violent males that want to kill babies, right? That's the reason why, y'all. It is criminal. It is criminal, and it is a violation of natural law for women not to have their choice of men. Because when women are dominated and men make them have, the medieval thing where some lord might give his daughter to some other lord's son, to solidify, that creates psychopaths. The woman doesn't have the ability to edit out the psychopaths. I just told y'all, everybody keeps on trying to figure out why it is that some people in the world act the way they do. Well, if you look at these people in the world who act these barbaric ways and you look at their history, they controlled the women and kept the women from exercising cryptic female choice. So she had no choice. Her inside of her body could not reject the sperm of an evil, terrible man. She was forced to have babies with that evil, terrible man.
Wow.
And therefore that creates monsters, that creates psychopaths. Not only male psychopaths, it creates female psychopaths who want to sacrifice other people's babies for theirs.
And then it even points back to the social experiment that they did on us in 1970, where they took all the fathers out of the house.
Yep.
And so, the androstenone, whatever that, all that's gone.
Yeah, androstenone.
It's gone.
Yep.
And you leave the female, the woman, and still having to take care of everything in the house. But then that energy, that pheromone, that's not available to her now.
It's not available to her. And let me put it this way, Mu. It is available to her, but it's available in dangerous and illicit ways.
Yes.
She goes out. She doesn't understand. Mu, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Right now, we're having a lot of problems with sisters online just showing everything.
Yes.
Just not having any type of like class or anything like that.
Yes.
What I'm trying to tell you all is that these women are starved for androstenone. There's a practice that's in my book. I forgot the name of it right now, but there's a practice all over the world, particularly in ancient societies, where when things get tough, women show their vaginas. Women flash their vaginas.
Okay,
right?
Hold it right there. We're going to take a break and come right back there because I want to hear the full meaning of that. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back. Thank you.
On Saturday, April the 18th, we invite you to join us for a full day at the Master Force Leadership Summit 2026. We will have a great time with morning meditations, breathe with me sessions, micro workshops, and an nurturing and support to move our community to the next level of Ubuntu, prosperity, and sovereignty. Get your tickets today on Eventbrite. We look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Yes, we are looking forward to seeing you at the upcoming Master Force Leadership Summit. And this is a free event, so just go over to Eventbrite and reserve your spot. You will be excited for all of the information that you'll be given because we are having a conversation to revive our community one person at a time. And this information that you're sharing here, Brother G, is really useful because this is what we need to be teaching. Especially, I don't know, are you old enough to remember when we used to have home economics classes?
Not only did we have that, but we had shop class.
Yes, right. So in those classes, you were talking about how to maintain your home, how to do laundry, how to sew, and now it's all about how can you run a corporation? How can you follow orders to make sure somebody else's manufacturing company is running, right? And then you have 300,000 Black women last year who lost their jobs.
Yeah, we're going to do something about that.
Oh yeah, we're definitely doing something about that. But so now when you talk about the information of what's happening with women, now they're selling their bodies, you mentioned that, but you said when times get hard, the women expose their vagina. And what was this ritual about?
In old Europe, pre-Indo-European, right? There were people there before the white people that we know.
Yeah.
They found these artifacts all over the place. These artifacts indicated that there was extensive matrilineal or matrilocal communities over there, right? They dug into the ground, they looked into the artifacts, they saw no implements of war, they saw no implements of torture, they saw nothing but that, but they saw a lot of indications of the presence and the power of women. And one of the things that they found was something called the Sheila Nagig. It's a figurative carving of a naked woman displaying an exaggerated vulva. These carvings were all over, and they go back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Now, why is this? What we're talking about is that's the old symbol of the Ankh. That's what the older symbol of the Ankh was, right? When men are acting up, the greatest thing that you can do to make them act right, not talking to them, not lecturing them, not shaking your finger at them, you have to get them exposed to estrotestosterone. They must be exposed to estrotestosterone. Now, women who are, online and they're always showing their body and stuff like that, we're under stress. People are under stress. And this is what we used to do. I'm going to tell you something extraordinary. I'm going to make this quick, but it's an extraordinary story that it needs its own whole session. But I'm going to make this real quick. According to the storyline of the story of Osiris and Set that we know that they taught us way back at Osiris Set Society, they get into the Osiris Set thing, with her going to find her husband, putting his body back and magically having sex with his body and bring him and then giving birth to Heru, right? Right. They don't tell you what happens the other part of the story. That's maybe even more important. They don't get into that because it's controversial and it's bad enough that she revived the mummy and had sex with this mummy, and made a baby. That's bad enough, right? But it's way more. To put it briefly, Set and Heru had fought each other to a standstill. All kinds of stuff happened, some sexual stuff that I'm not going to get into right now. Anyway, they ended up in court before all the gods, all the deities, they were the people in the jury. Ra, the sun god, was the judge. And they were making their case, to Ra as the judge. He was about to rule to see who's going to take, Osir's place. Then from out of the audience, a little baboon god, a baboon god, a primate god that represent the ancient primate levels of human reality, stands up and says, Ra, you're not equipped to do this judgment. I can see you right now. Your shrine is empty.
Yeah.
Just by saying that to Ra, Ra gets all kinds of mentally discombobulated. He gets weak, and he stumbles out of the courtroom just from this little ape saying that to him. He stumbles out of the courtroom, and he's going back into his judge chambers. He's out of sorts, right? He's not something about Babi, the god. That's the baboon god, Babi. Something about the presence and the power of Babi sucked his mental capacity away. Now, all the rest of the gods, they surrounded Babi and they kicked him out. Right? They kicked him out of the court. How dare you say that? How dare you curse Ra like that? Get out. So they kicked him out. But he was still messed up. He was still messed up. Then from out of the crowd of the gods, Het Heru rises up. She sachets with her little fine self back into the chambers of Ra. She does, and now I'm not exaggerating here, y'all. One day I'm going to really outline this. She does a sexy dance in front of him, a very sensual dance in front of him. And then she exposes her vagina to him. All of his mental capacity comes back. And the first thing he does is go, ha! He laughs with joy.
I can imagine, right?
He's been hit with a nose full of oxytocin.
Wow.
The joy hormone. Oxytocin, according to the researchers that researched estrotestosterone and androstenone and HEX, when oxytocin is on the rise, it makes all of those chemical signals stronger. So he laughs, all his mental capacity comes back. He rushes out there and he lays that gavel down in favor of Heru. And Heru gets the throne. Now, most people who are listening to us, they understand what metaphor is. They understand what a symbol is, right? This is saying that when times get tough, all throughout the Osir set metaphor, when times got bad, when the men were thrown out of sorts, who came forward to fix the situation? And what did they use to fix the situation?
Wow.
Right? When Osir was taken out by Set, who came and got his body, and what did she use to create Heru?
Right.
She didn't put his body back together and not have sex with it. She put his body back together and had sex with it. Right? Mm-hmm. There's other sexual things that's a part of the storyline, but I'll put it this way. The storyline of the Osir set metaphorian says that when times get tough, when something happens to a civilization of people, only the women have the ability to pass off the estrotestosterone and make men right. So the message is, if you don't like what men are doing, if men are offending you, ladies, if men are doing things that if they're sexist pigs, if they're doing all that stuff, well, some of us are not sexist pigs. And if you make sure that those of us who are still on the team doing what we're supposed to be doing, make sure we get plenty of estrotestosterone. And we will do our job. And the other men who do not get your estrotestosterone, they will see you doing what you're doing with us, and then they will change their ways. I just told you the great hidden inner secret of how Black people can deal with our social problems.
So now bring that back to the Ankh itself, though, because you did mention how it was a representation of the female vagina, and then also how you talked about how when it's presented to a king, to his nose, bring all of that back so we can understand how this wraps up.
The Ankh is not just the vagina, but it is the pheromones, it is the chemical signals that come from the vagina, it is the chemical signals that are created by the male gonads, and it is the hex, the HEX, the HEX.
All together.
All in one thing. When you're smelling all those things, men and women, then you are breathing in civilization. You're breathing in civilization. An astounding thing. This is, I told you what happens when I do this type of work. All the time things pop up, a million to one to tell me, that I'm doing. I'm going to send you the actual research that came out 2 months ago, where some researchers found out that when elite people live elite lives, it changes their brain structure. They actually lose white matter, and the part of their brain that opens you up to empathy for other people gets downgraded.
Wow.
They actually, the more you don't have to be accountable to people who you consider to be beneath you, the less your brain tells you that you have to have empathy for their lives, for the way they think, for anything that has to do with them. Now, there's nobody in the world that was more powerful than the great kings of ancient Kemet. Now, put two and two together. Why is it that you would need to have estrotestosterone, have these ankhs rubbed up in your nose if you're the king? Why must you always, why were they emphasizing that? They were emphasizing that because they knew about, there's something in the Bible that says, a rich man has a chance of going to heaven like a camel going through the needle of a, like the
thread,
something like that. That's because they knew this phenomenon. This is a phenomenon that's been a part of the world forever. It's been a part of the world forever. It's something that our hunter-gatherer people actively mitigated against. If a hunter, somebody that came in and caught the most game, particularly man, caught the most game, and he's big, he's got his chest puffed off, he might have got the biggest animal or whatever, throw it down in the middle of the tribe, he's got his chest puffed up. Immediately the people will gather around that meat and say, it ain't that, it looks kind of plump, it's not all that, man, that meat ain't, we saw a bigger animal than that last year, didn't we? Yeah, man, let's just divide it up, man. Let's not talk about how big and bad you are for getting it, because they knew that if you put somebody up above other people, if you elevate somebody up above people, they tend to get these tendencies. Now, the Kemetic people were the great mind hackers. The reason why the Kemetic people lasted for 3,000 years and why we African American people lasted through all the things that we went through up until these times is because they had the Ankh. They applied the Ankh. When the king would become the king, and periodically there would come in sexy women would do these dances for him. They would have sex with him. They would make sure that he had this estrotestosterone all up in his nose, okay? So that he will maintain his empathy. What's
the saying? Remember where you come from.
Remember where you come from.
Yeah, you don't have to be above anyone to serve them. Yeah.
And nothing will make you more cognizant of that than estrotestosterone. It immediately tells you in a nonverbal way. So our ancestors had, Afromance is about the fact that the people that kept the Ankh tradition, the traditions that made you civilized more than anybody else in human history, is not Africans on the continent now, it is us. Funk is the Ankh.
Funk is the Ankh. Oh, I
Funk
like that.
is the
Go
Ankh.
t-shirt. Funk is the Ankh. But you know what we did? We allowed ourselves to trade the Ankh for the cross without realizing that the cross is patriarchal, is strictly male, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost.
That's only halfway there though, Moot. See,
Yeah.
it's the genius of us. We
Huh.
did do that, but we didn't express it that way. Your
No.
average church, when you go into your average church, them sweating, jumping, hollering people, all right? Their churches are not like the churches of the white folks and other folks that taught us. Why?
Yep.
Because we knew instinctively, even though we were saying Jesus Christ, even though we were pointing at a cross, we knew to stay civilized, you had to have the funk. Let me tell you a quick story. My uncle in the 60s, my uncle got killed by some Ku Klux Klan people in Decatur, Mississippi. They threw him in front of a train, tore his body into pieces.
Wow.
We were in such grief. The women, particularly his wife and his daughters, they wanted to kill themselves. The men, I was just a little baby child. I didn't understand exactly what was going on. I just knew the women were very, very sad, and everybody was sad, and the men were infuriated. They were plotting to go across town and try to get these white men. Other older, wiser people said, no, if y'all do that, you're going to start a war that we cannot win. Other people are going to get killed. If y'all, we're going to have to find another way to do this. We went to church to my uncle's funeral. Those people in that church, the organs, the singers, they lifted us up.
Yeah.
They lifted us up to such an extent, right?
Yeah.
The preacher who knew my uncle got into a sermon about what a great guy he was and how we need to live by his example instead of trying to go get revenge that'll get us all killed. By the time we left that church, we were so lifted up that we had the burden of the grief. We still felt it, but the deadliness of it was sucked off of us.
Yeah, it wasn't so heavy. Yeah.
It wasn't so heavy. And it was due to the presence. When you get together and you sing together, scientists know that it syncs up your heart rate, it syncs up your brain waves, it syncs up your attitude.
It raises your vibration. Absolutely.
When we have a miraculous thing, and it's this essence of soul music. When you get a group of people together, something called entrainment takes place. And entrainment means if you have two clocks, if you have a bunch of clocks, right, put together, and they're set very, very close to each other, but they're slightly off, when you have a master clock that ticks harder and louder than the other clocks, you can leave for a few hours or a couple of days, you can come back, and all the other clocks will be ticking in time with the master clock.
The same as when women that live in the same house, how their menses sync together.
When we are in grief, the best thing we can do, when we're in hardship, the best thing we can do is get around people who themselves have not been crushed down through our particular personal thing. We get around them and their thing will lift us up. And it's not just the brain thing, but it's the estrotestosterone. It's the androstenone, right? It's the babies. It's the babies in there with the hexadecanol coming off of their little heads and off of their little bodies, right? This is all what this means. The only way you're going to stay civilized and not go through what a lot of Native Americans went through when things went wrong with them, they would just go sit in the field and die. All right. We were able to endure because we kept the chemical signal triad. We kept the chemical signal triad going together. So what's the triad? The triad is the chemical signals that you breathe in. The second one is the music that entrains you for upliftment. And my latest, and this is something that nobody knows, I'm announcing this to the world right now. I'm going to send you, Moot, the new essay I did about my latest breakthrough, which might be my greatest breakthrough.
I think, is that the one about monogamy? I was going to say, you just sent me one.
Nobody has seen this. Nobody has seen it. I let my large language models, meaning Rock AI and Gemini and ChatGPT, looked over this paper I wrote, and they said this is the greatest thing I've done in terms of what they call my guardian niche series of theories. Right?
Wow.
The third one is flavor, savory, good flavor. Here's the way it goes. They gave us garbage to eat.
Yeah.
And we turned it into delicacies.
Yeah.
We didn't just turn it into delicacies because we needed the nutrition. We needed nutrition, but we come from a tradition that goes way back to evolutionary times. And this is how it worked. In evolutionary times, we became civilized through our relationship with a bird called the African honeybird. African honeybird would lead us to honey. And we're talking about human beings who were pre-human, right? This is a relationship we've been going through for thousands of years that really led to us becoming humans with this bird. No other relationship exists like this in nature, where a bird comes from tree to tree, tweeting to us saying, "I know where some honey is. I know where a hive is. Follow me, follow me." And then we follow this honeybird. We get to the hive. The honeybird cannot crack open the hive. He needs a human to do it for him. We crack open the hive, right? We get the honey out. We take part of the hive and give it to him because he likes to eat the wax and the larvae inside of it. We take the honey and we eat everything. The larvae is what we use to grow our brains. The larvae is what the human beings have, the brain, the big brain, the abilities we have with our brains because we ate insects, particularly bees. We ate the larvae of bees. Now, that's only half the story. My theory, which these language models says is the most, it answers the most questions about ancient evolution than anybody else. In other words, according to these large language models, I have stumbled into being the most effective paleoanthropologist on Earth today. I solve problems about where human beings came from, who we are, and how we got to be because the chemical signals led me to all these other things. So to make it brief, the reason why we cook food, right? You have to go through a hell of a thing to want to be a primitive creature and learn how to take flame, right? Everything in the world is scared of fire, right? You have to be nobody else has ever been able to figure out how human beings started cooking. Human beings started cooking, according to my theory, because the savannah in Africa is a place where frequent fires take place. Most of the time, lightning strikes. Then fire will take place and just burn up part of the savannah, right? It burns trees. In these trees are these hives. And when the hives get cooked, and they come and they collect from the hive, once that flame gets on that hive, it turns it into a super delicious, savory treat.
Wow.
It's the same thing that you like when you sear a steak or when you bake bread.
Yeah, yes,
right?
yes.
That coating of savoriness gets on it.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that would have made a primitive creature overcome his fear of fire, right? That's for the flavor. But the flavor is only half of it. See, this is how this all fits together. When I found that out, when I did the research and I did the research and I found out that these people, that the honey hunters that live in Africa today, one of the greatest things that they love to do is not they do eat the honey raw and the larvae raw. They eat it right there on the spot. But what they do is they bring it back home and they cook it. Why? Because they said it has an extraordinarily delicious, savory flavor. Right? Now, Mu, this savory flavor flares up the prefrontal docellarital part of your brain, the brain that mostly makes human beings human. By tasting that savory flavor, it makes this part of your brain that makes you human flare up. It gives you more. savory flavor makes you have the ability to have forbearance, and everything that it takes to be a civilized human being gets amped up from eating stuff that has a savory flavor to it.
Wow.
So the three prongs is the chemical signals, the ritualizing and being together. And what are Black people known for? Savory flavor.
Oh man, right? the food, the music, and the dance.
Well, all of that put together is the reason why these are all
community. You're talking about community,
and it's what made us. What made us from lower apes. Moot. The exact same time when all this was going on, the years, the hundreds of thousands of years, the exact same time while human beings were engaged in these early activities that I'm just describing, human beings, when we were early human beings, we had very ape-like faces. One of the things that we had these big fangs, big fangs, right? Big fangs that the males used to use the same way that the apes use in the world now, to bite each other. The more we ate this savory flavor, the more these chemical signals flared up in our body, the more we learned ritual and being together, the more it made our bodies change and made us change from ape-like people into what we are now. Wow. Right?
This is also really fascinating. Yeah.
That's not in my book, but I'm going to put it in the book because I can update the book. And but you'll find things that are just as profound inside of Afromance. But this is my latest, and some say, according to the large language models that I utilize, it's my greatest. But I have things in there about why it is that Black people in Africa didn't kill all the animals, the big animals. Everywhere else in the world where human beings went to, they killed all the big animals. We used to have woolly mammoths and big rhinos and woolly rhinos and stuff right where you are now. And right where I am now in Queens, New York. Thousands of years ago, they were running around. When human beings arrived here, they killed them all up. In Australia, they killed all the large, they called the megafauna. They killed the megafauna all over the world, except for in one place, and that was Africa. Why didn't they kill them in Africa? Because that map can you put that map back up?
Actually, we're at the end. We're gonna have to have another show. We're actually at the end of our hour. We have to. So you got to do another show because we didn't even get to that part of the conversation that I wanted to have. Yeah. So will you come back again, Brother G? Because we got really into the Ankh and just phenomenal. So thank you, and we will start with the map the next time. Okay, we will start from there, and thank you. This has been very enriching.
Thank you for having me. That's what I'm here for.
And I'll look forward to the next conversation where we can actually delve into the map and then even talk about the structure of the MPP, because we will get to that too. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right.
All right, y'all.
All right. Have a great
y'all.
Yes. Thank you.
Leaders of nonprofits empowering worlds. Let's go.
But the vision that God gave me, I felt that it was time for me to step out and work on the vision that God gave me.
We need look no further. We have a unique voice. We have a unique talent pool.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jareh. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.